The world of Commander can be a scary place for a new player. There's a lot of powerful strategies out there, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna have a hard time. Let's be real, it sucks when you're watching other people's decks at the table go off and make awesome plays, and meanwhile you're sitting there with 6 lands in hand. Or you're sitting there with no cards in hand, praying that a top deck is gonna save your life. Well, I'm sorry to have to be the one to break it to you, but it's not. Getting the most out of your Commander deck isn't about spending tons of money. It's about figuring out exactly what you want to do and then executing that game plan consistently. So today I'm bringing you my 5 tips for how to become a better Commander player. It's time to step your game up. Go figure, right? If you want to be successful, you have to have a plan. The game plan for your deck is the blueprint for how everything is going to work. Now obviously, even the best made plans aren't always going to work out, but what's important is that you establish an idea of what you're trying to accomplish. As a quick example, let's take a look at a very popular casual commander, Tristani Selesnya's Voice. For the most part, Tristani is pretty simple. You're going to play a lot of creatures and gain some life. So if the goal is to optimize your Tristani deck and make it the best that it can be, naturally you're going to play to her strengths. Perhaps you focus on cards like Voice of Resurgence or Phyrexian Processor. Instead of getting a bunch of random 1/1 soldier tokens that don't really do much, instead, you get tokens that are consistently threats. And when it comes to life gain, why focus on only gaining small chunks of life when instead you can gain massive amounts? Okay, so great, we have a basic plan in place. We're gonna make a lot of tokens, we're gonna gain a little life. That's cool and all, but how are you going to win? Having multiple, consistently attainable ways to win a game is what separates a good commander deck from a bad one. In the case of our made-up game plan for Tristani, we can use overrun effects to trample our opponents into dust, or cards like Aetherflux Reservoir, where we can pay our life to take out our opponents. The most important thing to remember when developing a game plan is consistency is key. It isn't about winning every game, it's about making consistent plays and always knowing what to expect from your deck. So there's this thing you might have heard of, it's called mana curve. It's essentially a way to tally up how much on average it costs you to cast a spell from your hand. If you're looking to optimize your deck and make it as good as it can be, ideally you're going to want the majority of your spells between 0 and 3 mana to cast. Ideally, spells at the 4 mana and above spots should be proactively working to win you the game. This is definitely one of those areas where a lot of Commander players struggle. I love 8-drop Angels, Krakens, and Hydras just as much as you do, but they aren't always the optimal choice. It might not be as exciting as a Craterhoof Behemoth, but focusing on putting more mana ramp artifacts and spells in your deck will make for a more enjoyable play experience. Now hold up, you don't need to be a millionaire in order to afford some great mana ramp. Personally, I recommend focusing on mana ramp artifacts that cost under 3 mana to play. Remember, the lower the spells are to cast in your deck, the quicker you can assemble your game plan and start making plays. My third tip is all about understanding card draw, specifically the difference between consistent and short-term card draw. Consistent card draw spells are spells that enable you to draw cards throughout the course of a long game. An example of this are enchantments like Necropotence and Sylvan Library, both of which allow you to sacrifice your life in order to draw cards. Consistent card draw is going to keep your hand full of cards and make sure that you're always getting the answers you need. Believe it or not, it's kind of hard to drive a car if it doesn't have any fuel in it. It's the same way with your commander deck. If you aren't drawing cards, you're going to have a difficult time doing much of anything. No matter your color scheme or playstyle, there are consistent card draw options available to you that can always help keep your hand full of cards. On the other hand, there's short-term card draw effects. These are most commonly seen in blue spells like Ponder or Serum Visions. This is partly what makes blue such a powerful color. Having the ability to manipulate the top of your library and draw cards is really good. However, not all short-term card draw effects are created equal. Just like the mana rocks, it's important to try and limit your card draw spells to be under 3 mana. If you absolutely have to, you can dig into the 4 mana and above card draw spells, but be very careful. This will slow you down. Tip number 4 is to run more instant speed, low cost removal spells. Frankly, there are a lot of really mana-intensive removal spells out there like Utter End or Return to Dust. In the same vein are spells like Putrefy and Mortify. In a pinch, these spells will get the job done. They'll take out whatever you're trying to get rid of. But here's the thing, there are a lot of other spells out there that are not only more mana efficient, they're far cheaper to purchase. Spells like Nature's Claim and Disenchant aren't fancy, but they get the job done in very efficient fashion. And if you're having a difficult time dealing with annoying creatures, there's spells like Murderous Cut, Swords to Plowshares, and Reality Shift. When it comes to artifacts and enchantments, I'm always willing to splurge for something like Hull Breach, which you can pay 2 mana to take out an artifact and an enchantment. That's some serious value. And for the would-be control players out there, there's awesome counterspells like Spell Pierce, Swan Song, Mana Leak, and of course Delay, that not only fit great on your mana curve, they're also fantastic at disrupting your opponents. Don't forget about cards that give you multiple options as well. In particular, I've had great success with Izzet Charm and Croesus Charm. Versatile removal spells give you plenty of options to work with over the course of a long game. And last but certainly not least, don't forget that Google is your friend. Take advantage of resources like Tapped Out Deck Builder. Tapped Out is a website that allows you to input your deck list and get real-time stats on it. It gives you a resource that you can use to evaluate the weak points of your deck and work on ways to improve it. EDH Rec is another valuable resource that gives you important information on what cards are most commonly being used in Commander deck lists that are posted online. EDH Rec is a great way to compare and contrast how people are running different strategies for the same commander. And if you're looking to do a really deep dive and add cards to your deck that other people might not be using, the Gatherer and other Magic card search engines like it are a great resource. But at the end of the day, there's only one thing that will truly make you a better Commander player, and that is playtesting. It doesn't matter how awesome your cards are, if you have no idea what you're doing, and you haven't playtested and sat and practiced with your deck and learned its synergies, you're going to have a hard time. We're headed towards 250 subscribers, and seriously guys, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Not to be overly sappy or anything, but I really appreciate you guys. Seriously, thank you so much for commenting, subscribing, liking, just following along, and being a part of this. I firmly believe that I have the most kick-ass subscriber base on YouTube, and I can't thank you guys enough. Make sure to stay tuned for more. I'll be back in a few days with a brand new video. If you want to be aware of it when it first comes out, don't forget to hit that notification bell. It really does help out a lot. You know the drill, deck builders. Stay classy. I'll see you next time.